Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychologist and Holocaust survivor who actually survived 4 different concentration camps. He wrote about his experience and insights in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. I highly recommend this book. It's one of the most influential books that I've ever read. And what is more than that is that Tony Robbins actually recommends it as one of the top 3 books that every person should read. In this video, I explore the key insights and philosophy of Viktor Frankl's experience in the Nazi concentration camps. And by the end of this video, you will understand why no matter how awful your life is right now, there is always a way to find meaning in your suffering. I don't think any combination of words can paint a picture gruesome enough to describe what existing, note, not living, but existing inside a Nazi concentration camp must have been like. After surviving 4 concentration camps, Viktor spent the rest of his life teaching what he learned during the worst of times. That people can and must find meaning in their lives, even if all they know is tremendous suffering. His approach is called logotherapy, and has made him one of the key figures of modern psychology. Here are my 5 takeaways and lessons from Viktor's experience. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. The first lesson is that of your one last freedom. Viktor writes that forces beyond your control can take everything from you. But one last thing they can't take from you is your freedom in choosing how you respond to a particular situation. Because in life, we can't always control what happens to us, but we always control the meaning we assign to what happens to us. So in life, you will be faced with stimulus and your response to that stimulus. But what's more important for you to understand is that between stimulus and response, there's a space, a gap, where we have the freedom to ask ourselves, how the best version of myself would respond to this? And in that space, consciously choose your most empowering response. The second lesson is that being indifferent to death allowed people to survive. Viktor said that all concentration camp prisoners went through several phases after arriving at the camp. And this one is what made him and some of his surviving peers different from those who perished. And it's quite paradoxical. In order to survive, you had to be okay with dying at any moment. I explored this idea more deeply in my video about Memento Mori, the Stoic philosophy on dealing with death and grief. You can check it out here. This sort of indifference to death, the perspective of merely existing, not living, allowed prisoners to shield their minds from the terrors around them, and to do what was necessary to survive. All of the things we take for granted today were severely limited in the concentration camps: food, clothing, sleep, rest. By surrendering to the present and not spending 1 second thinking of a terrible future, prisoners summoned the apathy they needed to, for example, grab a vital pair of shoes from a dead body or hide in a pile of manure to avoid being led to the gas chambers. Sometimes the only way to survive is to surrender. The third lesson is that your life has its own meaning and it's up to you to find it in any given moment. If you ask any great chess player what the best move in chess is, they'll just stare at you with a puzzle face. There is no such thing. There is, however, a best move in any particular set of pieces on the board. Of course, there's a best move in any game situation, but no general move beats all others. The meaning of your life is the same way. There is no general meaning of your life and not even one singular meaning of your own life. Your life's meaning is not only unique to you, it also depends on your decisions and situations. This is what logotherapy claims, and it flips the common misconception that you have to find your life's meaning first before you're able to live your best life, upside down. Instead, how you act and how much responsibility you bring into the decisions that you make determines how big your sense of meaning in life is. For example, Frankl found meaning in stumbling through the night barefoot across icy rocks and through big puddles, forced to work by the Nazi guards by simply thinking of his wife, imagining her face up in the clouds and finding bliss in this moment of love. The fourth lesson is to force your fears to come true to make them go away. Another thing logotherapy does is enable people to focus on their internal state of mind instead of the external factors, thus giving them a sense of control over their own life. For example, if you're afraid of sometimes stuttering in front of your friends, it might seem like your environment, for example, your friends being there, is what's at fault. By using something Frankl calls paradoxical intention, you can turn this around and take control. In reality, you only start stuttering because you're afraid you'll start stuttering. Paradoxical intention flips this around by getting you to try and force your fears to come true. In this example, you should do exactly what you're afraid of, and try to stutter as much as possible when you're around your friends. You'll notice that as soon as you try to force it to happen, it won't work, and you eventually will lose your fear of stuttering in front of your friends altogether. And that brings us to the fifth and final lesson, that is, to have an end in mind. Viktor writes that prisoners who actually lost faith in the future, who lost the belief that the future would be better than what it is right now, those were the prisoners that ended up declining first. On the flip side, the prisoners that had faith in the future, that they believed that the future would be better than the present, those were the ones that survived. He writes that it's a strange condition of the human experience that we can only live by looking into the future. When we don't believe that the future will be better than the present, our state of mind is in a place where we've lost all hope and positive emotions, and we've sunk deep into negativity. And he points to the fact that the state of mind of the prisoners had a strong effect on their physical resilience and their state of immunity. He explains that during Christmas and New Year's Eve was the time of the year where most prisoners would die. And the reason for this is because a lot of prisoners had this strange thought that they would be free by Christmas and that they would see their families again and that all would be good. But when that did not happen, that completely shattered their faith in a better future. It completely shattered the belief that they would get out of the concentration camp. And as a result, a large portion of them were not able to make it through. So if you're feeling low, if you're feeling like you're stuck in a loop of negative emotions, it might be a good idea for you to write out what do you want your life, your ideal life to look like, so that you can use that vision to drive you forward and take the actions in the present that would move you closer to that ideal future. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe now to see more videos like this that will help improve your life every single day, step by step. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care.